Hi, good evening, everyone. I'm Santana. I am the COO of Living Soul and wanted to come on here tonight to kind of introduce our first guest speaker, first night of our podcast. And his name is Drew Bryant, or Andrew Bryant. He goes by Drew from Georgia. And Drew is going to give us a little bit about himself.
Yeah, absolutely. I
And
appreciate that. Yeah, so born and raised in Georgia. When I was two, I was diagnosed with autism. So basically, how that led up. So anytime or my mom and dad would place me in a daycare, and I was actually expelled from every daycare in my city because I was showing a lot of tantrum and self-injury behaviors. I didn't know how to communicate to express myself correctly. So because of that, that's where my mom and dad led me to get evaluated. Did a lot of in-home evaluations. That's where I got my first autism diagnosis when I was 2.5 years old. Because ABA is like a jack of all trades, master of none type of field. I definitely
yeah.
got services in OT, PT.
hmm
I had social skills groups growing up, so I was basically had a lot of. I had to do pre-K twice.
I remember taking my son when he was 3 to get diagnosed for autism,
Mhm.
and I remember them telling me he was too young to like diagnose him.
Really.
So the fact
It's
that
crazy. That's crazy to hear that. 'Cause even nowadays, like I've worked with the youngest I work with is like barely turning two, and it's like and a lot more
wow.
new and a lot more new research has came out to where like you it's there's
Right.
um a lot more objective ways to pinpoint those precursors and core deficits of autism during that evaluate or does diagnosis evaluation.
Yeah.
If anything, with my BCB, or I'm more of on like the implementing side after like they're already diagnosed, and then they're sent to my clinic or sent to my agency for that evaluation.
Yeah.
But I'm sorry, I got sidetracked.
I know.
But no, 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 no,
It's
you're all good. So
okay.
yeah,
But listen,
so basically,
that's what we want people to see. We want people to see the experience, that life experience that we want
oh yeah.
people to see. So that's fine.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
no, no, I
Don't
appreciate that.
apologize.
I think I got you.
Thank
I
you,
think
thank
I
you,
got
thank
you sidetracked though.
No, no, no. Honestly, no. Honestly, I love that. No, that's honestly a topic I would
Yeah.
love to talk about more, and honestly, just research more myself and
Yeah.
just spew about. But so they after my diagnosis at 2.5, I basically got like the whole hodgepodge of all the principal or all the behavioral disciplines in ABA. So speech, OT, PT, social skills. I had to do pre-K twice. I was in special education classroom until second grade. I had an IEP and two lead teachers in the classroom from second to sixth grade. Then in sixth grade, that was where I cut off my IEP to where my parents wanted just to try me into the normal pool of fishies just to see how I would react. And the pros and cons of middle school is definitely a tough time, but that was definitely a time for me to just analyze and grow and just see what things are accepted socially, what things aren't, and just learning
Mhm.
through just experience of school and life. And then when I got to high school and around like sophomore, the junior year, that's where I truly felt like my mind, like I'm really starting to get it. So that's where I sat down with my mom and dad, and I'm like, hey, and like at that time, I was the last two services I was still receiving were just speech and OT. Or not OT, not speech OT, sorry, speech and social skills stuff with a psychologist I would meet with once a month. So basically, I sat down with my mom, dad. I'm like, hey, I feel like I'm at this point where I can just be normal, be typical, just like do my thing in my last few years of high school. And they were like, oh, okay, signed off on that. And then when I got to my bachelor's at Kansas State, that's where I basically became a social butterfly. I made my true first friend groups by myself there. I joined my fraternity, my brothers for life. Love them. Shout out to them. Shout out to Delta Chi. And from there, and if anything, when I first got to Kansas State, I was a computer science major at first, and I was trying to follow my dad's footsteps, but I realized that during my freshman year, I was not good at that. I was not good at math. I was not good at computers. I'm like, I don't know what I'm gonna do next. So if anything, it's crazy that I grew up in Kansas and things like that. So for my commute from home to campus, there was a ABA clinic that was always in my commute, and I drove past it every single day. And there was
Mhm.
one time my sophomore year in college, I'm like, And that was when I switched my major to psychology, and that's why I got my bachelor's in psychology and my minor in sociology. So the one day I was like, you know what? I'm gonna just pull in this clinic, walk in, ask for an application, and now the rest is history. So when I went in there, I was a intern for 3 to 4 months, just being exposed to like what RBTs do, what BCBAs do. I was kind of more of like a an aide for like the therapist children, kind of like a daycare-esque worker for like the therapist children and admin BCBA children. So I was like kind of just like working on my initial like
Yeah.
teaching, like working with kids skills like with them, while also kind of like indirectly observing like RBT sessions and stuff. So after like that internship time, that's when I earned my opportunity to become a line therapist and get taught under my mentor on how to become an RBT. And then I was an RBT for 8 years across four different agencies. And then last year, February, is when I sat down and earned my big boy certification. And now I'm at the no, it's what's today, the 12th? So on January 15th will be my 11th month mark of my BCBA journey. And
Oh, nice.
it-
Oh,
Nice.
thank you.
I
So
have a quick
my 1 year's
question.
coming up in just in February. I'm really excited for that. It's crazy to say it's already here. And definitely with the BCBA role, time has flown by so fast how busy we are. Yeah,
correct.
time has flown
Exactly.
by so fast.
I do have a quick question.
Yeah.
Touching back to like when you were in middle school and like the beginning of high school, because you said it was until the end of high school that you kind of like realized, okay. So
Absolutely.
were you on the higher end of the spectrum, or did you feel like you were not? Like when you were in middle school and high school, did you feel like you were different than others? Did you feel like that, or did you feel like,
I think, I'll go back to my diagnosis where I was diagnosed with Asperger's syndrome, to which I know today that is not
yeah.
a
That's
diagnosis that's used. If anything, that's more a level one. That's more of a level one
Mhm.
diagnosis, which I did consider myself a high functioning person on the spectrum, but I was definitely. I do have an older brother of 2 years, and I remember vividly there was one time where I came home off the bus, and like my brother, like he had like two friends come over like right off the bus, and there was one time I was went and cried to my mom like, why can't I make friends like my brother can? And so it was like for
Mhm.
me, it was just like I just didn't know how to express, like I didn't know how to express myself towards others. I just didn't know how to start conversation. I didn't know how to maintain a conversation.
that,
Mhm.
that
I
social awkwardness. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Like there's basically those social concepts and principles where I had no idea.
Yeah.
For me, like I was always academically strong. I had A's and B's all through school. If anything, the only C I ever got was in college algebra, and that really shows I'm not a mathematician. I can do those simple stats. I just simple stats for POCs and
Yeah.
data collection. But other than that, I'm not your math guy. I got a calculator right next to me. But yeah, definitely when it comes to like in middle school, I definitely learned a lot of those social constructs and just like things. I hate it's sad to say it, but through just the hard way of just how tough middle school can be. And
Yeah.
Right.
we
Yeah.
there's definitely stories I can tell of like just like
Yeah.
sure not traumatic times, but times where like oh like it clicked because definitely like
Mhm.
with people on the spectrum, even with kids I work with, like it might take a while to understand a concept, but
Mhm.
once they get it and once it's understood, it's
Mhm.
understood. And so it's like,
Yeah.
and in ABA and just life in general, or for me in general, it's just a principle I always like telling people is like, there's no way to get better in a skill unless you place yourself in that dangerous or not dangerous, in that scary or like uncomfortable situation to grow. And that was definitely
Right.
a reason why my mom and dad were great at not being helicopter. Even with the autism diagnosis, they weren't helicopter parents, right? They did that healthy amount of pushing, but they were still there enough to the point where if they saw me like freaking out or
Mhm.
having a meltdown, then
Yeah.
they would be right there to be like, hey, it's okay. They would prompt me with the
Mhm.
strategies that they've been taught through parent trainings and stuff, and they would calm me down, and I'll be like, okay. Okay.
Mhm.
Okay,
Mhm.
for me, it was like the social aspect. It was like and even today, it's like self-management and emotional regulation are the biggest
Right.
things for me that I'm still working on, even now back in middle school.
I have a question before we conclude because you mentioned your parents, right? And
Mhm.
we know that a lot of we want to say based on research, we want to say at least 70 or 80% of parents and families, once they hear the diagnosis of, the autism diagnosis, it doesn't matter what level one, level two, level three, they still feel like they have to protect you, right? And which is great because that's the role and function of a parent regardless
Absolutely.
of how old we get, right? Our mom and dad still want to protect us regardless of any
Any
diagnosis or
label or diagnosis, absolutely.
correct. So then, like, what do you want to say? What would you say to parents out there, regardless if, their child, just received a diagnosis of autism, level one, level two, level three? In general, what do you want to say to them?
I never view it as a disability. I view it just a different way of looking at life. Like just how you have glasses to say, I like that's the one my one sense is I have good 20/20 vision. That's like the one sense I'm good at. I can't hear, I can't smell, I can't taste when I'm healthy. But like there's just how like you need glasses to see clearly with autism. It's just you see the world in a different way. You process the
I
world in a
love
different
that.
way. So you are capable of everything, but you just gotta find the ways that work for you, like the ways of learning that work for you, the ways to interact with people that work with you. Like just how like everything's individualized, that everyone lives life in a way that works for them. Just how people on the spectrum, you just gotta find a way. It might be atypical compared to typical peers, to typical functioning adults. But if it works for you, it works for you, you know?
Awesome. Thank you.
If that makes sense. Sorry, I feel like I was
And then as far as the parents,
Yeah, as far as the parents, like, what do you want to say to the parents out there? Yeah.
say to the parents out there that like if your son or daughter has an autism diagnosis, that doesn't mean that they're limited to anything. They still can do anything they put their hearts to or minds to.
Yeah.
Like just how like with me as a man on the spectrum, like I might think a little bit differently than the person next to me, but I still am able to basically run my own business and help people just like me, you know? So it's like so like as a parent, you can still facilitate of true and healthy longevity and sustained growth and development with your child on the spectrum. It just might look different comparatively to another family's way of raising a child. Um,
Mhm.
if that makes sense.
Mhm. No, definitely. And I know that before Santana for her to conclude, I know that the ABA field, evolves a lot compared to like maybe even when
It
you were
sure has.
yeah,
It
when you
sure
were
has.
diagnosed as a child and then now becoming a BCBA for the past what 11 months now.
Mhm.
What excites you the most about the future of ABA?
That compliance training is getting kicked out the door. The compliance training is no more because I'll tell you, like my first 4 years, 3.5 4 years in the field was exposed to compliance training. And that type of ABA basically almost broke my passion for the field. It almost made me break away.
Oh.
But when I found a set-based child-led ABA, that's basically where my love for ABA came back. Because that's basically where in compliance training, we're basically throwing the thoughts and feelings of the client out the window. Basically, like those behaviors, basically, because at the end of the day, every behavior that is shown is a form of communication. So whenever through compliance training, if a kiddo is showing a tantrum to try to escape out of a task or physical aggression or property destruction to try to get away from something, in compliance training, the therapist is trained to ignore those yelps, those cries of communication. Say, "Hey, Mr. Drew, I don't like that. Don't make me do this table task." But as a compliance based or compliance training practitioner, you are trained to basically force them and make them comply through tasks and stuff. And basically, when you force a kiddo to do something, that learning is not going to be sustainable and fun. That's going to make learning adversive. That's going to make learning new things, trying new things adversive. Because with assent based and child led therapy, we are basically taking those nonverbal cues, that body language, those eye contacts, those those approximations, we are taking all that to account and how they are feeling. If they are not an active participant in the learning process, that's where we take a step back. I'm like, okay, if they are tantruming at the sight of just a table, it's just that if they are tantruming at the sight of a picture card, then that means learning is aversive. We need to take a step back. We gotta find ways that make learning fun and motivating, and basically in a way where it's child led, not child ran. That's a big difference. Child-led therapy, we are taking their interests, their interests, their motivators, things that they love, and we incorporate it into the learning process. But not child. If it was child ran, they would just use they would use those problem behaviors to get their way every single time. But with assent-based therapy, we're still hearing that we hear them. We hear the emotional distress that their thoughts and feelings from what those behaviors are implying, and we meet them in the middle to where we're still upholding our end of the bargain, our rules, our contingencies, basically those skills that we're trying to work on. But we're also taking in their thoughts and feelings too. So we're trying our best to meet them in the middle. So that learning is a active participant on both sides. And also with compliance training, that also makes me as a therapist adversive to implementing therapy. Because there would be days where I would literally cry in my car because I felt like I was basically making a kid do something they didn't want to do. I didn't even want to do that. And it was like there'll be times where a kid would escalate for over an hour over something very
Mhm.
minimal. And I'm like, it's not even worth escalating,
Yeah.
you know? And with assent-based therapy, like if assent-based therapy, we would rather reinforce that minor escalation and
Mhm.
I would rather
That's
reinforce that
good.
minor escalation and then promote a replacement behavior to put on top of that and end on something good rather than let that minor behavior escalate to a full-blown just
Right.
serious trauma inducing event to where that will take months and months of recovery
Yeah.
to try to correct that one tiny one not tiny well and this is a big escalation in a small time frame.
Yeah.
With that compliance training too, like that generalization is the most important part of ABA, in my opinion. Because if the client is not showing those skills you are teaching in the treatment setting in their naturalistic home school settings, then what is the true point of therapy? Because
Yeah.
I feel like compliance training was only good to make insurances look good. Because if
Mhm.
anything, compliance training, data only looks good in the treatment setting only. It rarely to never correlates to the naturalistic setting that to the end goal setting where you're trying to get to. Like for example, I do a lot of I specialize in early intervention therapy, so I work with kids ages 2 to 8. So
Mhm.
my end goal is basically to fade my services out to the point where they can be independent in school, to where they don't need us. Because at the end of the day, as BCBAs, I always forget I'm supposed to work myself out of a job. That is my whole role. I'm supposed to work myself to where they don't need me anymore.
Well, that
And
is the whole point. That is the whole point of therapy.
Mhm.
Even when I was a therapist, as a former therapist myself, the point is I don't want my clients to depend on me. I want
Mhm.
them to be independent because that is how you are able to see what real result. You want them to be independent, and then you move on to the next clients. Like it's not like you don't love them,
Like
you letting them
precisely,
go, but
precisely.
making progress. You want them to, and even if they come back a year later, they come back 2 years later for something else, you
Uh-huh.
still want to see, like, hey, you are making
Mhm.
progress. Let's try to do it on your own now. And even with the
Mhm.
family. But we can keep going because we can see the love that you have for the field and just hearing like, some of the things that excite you to look, for the future of the ABA. And I know that we're gonna go ahead and definitely conclude, and we'll
Yeah,
have
I
you
know you got
back
class. I'm
again,
sorry.
like you are our first guest,
I'm
and
very
it's
honored.
been
I
a
am.
very no, we are very honored
Mhm.
just to see that because I do feel like I said, I sat in so many IEP meetings and just seeing the heart, the faces, and some of those parents and I don't want to say all, but
Mhm.
it's heartbroken. And even sometimes seeing on TikTok where
So,
families scared to travel with their child because the child is
Mhm.
with autism and or
and
don't
that
want
breaks my heart.
them to correct. It breaks my heart because I don't like using the word normal, because to me it's like I don't
No,
even
hey,
I'm
nobody's normal, man.
normal.
Everyone's weird in their own way, man.
Like
And
we
honestly, and my
all
if you're not being called weird, I'm like, thank you. I'm not. I'm
yeah,
not like. I'm
Yeah.
exactly.
not like y'all.
You
Thank you.
know,
I'm different. Thank you. I
Mhm.
appreciate
so
that.
so it's been a pleasure that you are taking your story out there. Diagnosed with autism at the age of 2 to now, have worked in the field as a RBT and transition that to BCBA. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
No,
this is like, hey,
Hmm.
thank you.
you
No,
can
You
do
can
it.
do it. Anybody
Exactly.
yeah,
can.
it's like
Exactly.
I know
You
we were
can do
talking before
it.
we started. I know, like before we started the recording, I basically this is my God-given purpose in life, and
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
if I this is my that I've always felt like I've been a behavior analyst all my life. As a kid with autism, I feel like I just I couldn't get it. I was always watching everyone else, trying to pick up on everyone else's behaviors and kind of put that in my own tool bag,
Yeah.
in my own mind. Like, all right, picking on things that are working for
Yeah,
others versus I'll throw out
Yeah.
things that don't work.
absolutely.
So I feel like I've always been a behavior analyst all my life, and being able to be a permanent product of just what. But
Right.
humbly, I feel like I'm living proof that early intervention works. The earlier you seek help, the earlier you
Yeah.
the more you get, the higher potential you have to pick
Mhm.
up on those
Right.
foundational blocks that you were lacking in originally,
Yeah.
and I'm able
Were
to.
you always verbal?
No, that's the thing. No, that's
Okay.
funny. It's funny. I actually
Oh,
have.
wait.
I literally have all my data, like paper data documents from when I was like from ages
Oh,
three to
wow.
six. From ages
Yeah.
3 to 6, I can literally show you all the echoics,
Wow.
simple echoics, simple introverbals. If anything, I was a dinosaur boy back in the day. Like, my way to like my first like attempts of social interaction, I would go up, be like, "Rah," and just be a dinosaur
Yeah.
and stuff like that. But yeah,
Yeah.
no, if anything, I
Aw.
didn't. I would, yeah, no, if anything, I didn't really start saying like simple sentences until the age of like five, six.
Okay.
But yeah, I never used picture exchange systems. I never got introduced to ASL. If anything, I'm trying to get really fluent in ASL right now,
Hmm.
and I know you have to go. I'm so sorry.
That's
No,
okay.
no,
But
That's
no.
no,
okay.
That's
Yeah.
also I love that you talk about you were a speech therapist. If I wasn't a BCBA, I would be a speech there. I would be a speech
oh,
pathologist.
you do speech. Okay.
I'm gonna, if anything, like as a BCBA, I feel like my strongest strength is promoting well, as I'm stuttering
Communication.
over myself,
Yeah.
Professional
functional communication training,
communication.
basically teaching communication over problem behavior. I feel like that's my biggest strength as a
Uh-huh.
therapist. I feel like
Yeah.
as a
But
master of none, a jack of all trades, master of none. But as a BCBA, now definitely an ABA, you learn something new every day, and
oh,
definitely
Hmm.
you do.
I tell all my
Absolutely.
RBTs that I supervise, even like brand new hires that are learning the ropes on
Yeah.
Relias and stuff like that. I'm like, I've been in this field for way too long. I learn something new every day. I learn
Every
something
single day.
every day. You
And
never
if
stop
you
learning.
Yeah.
right, and if you're not learning something every day, then something is wrong because
Exactly. Yes, I
every
should.
day,
Hmm.
every day. But we would love to have you again, and because
Absolutely.
Yeah.
you like
Absolutely.
even just talking to the from a parent
Mhm.
standpoint, having your mom and dad
Mhm.
experiencing that, and
Actually, my dad has expressed to me a lot in the past 5 years. Like he actually started he's starting to write a book about how he's like raised me and stuff like
oh
that.
wow,
And like, yeah, no, he's always wanted to, yeah, like now, like with this, like, I'm very thankful that since I started my TikTok back in May, I've been
and awesome work too.
Oh
Great
yeah.
very
TikTok
And
thankful.
content.
can you give people your
Yes.
TikTok name?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
It's a like Drew B,
Like Drew.
Okay.
like
And
Drew
we'll
B,
put
yeah,
that.
all one word.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure. I'm
And
gonna
Okay.
double check that.
I love your sweater too.
Thank
Super.
you, thank you.
Yeah.
Shout out to my mentoring BCBA for giving me it.
I
It was
love
my
that.
one of my passing gifts. But I
Okay.
still need to watch season 5. I haven't watched season 5 yet. I haven't watched, but
Oh.
Aw.
But yeah,
yeah,
is
Awesome.
there anything else
yeah, like Drew
that
B.
you
That's me.
Yeah, I just
But yeah,
followed you, so.
but yeah, no, oh, thank you. But no, if anything, ever since starting, I'm very thankful that it's been a platform for me to practice, as a man on the spectrum, to practice my functional communication skills, to
Yeah.
practice expressing myself, to be able to talk about ABA in ways that are positive, uplifting, and also not breaking any rules of HIPAA or anything. I'm still able to
Hmm.
express what ABA
right.
is all about, and ever since starting, like I hate, and there's been. I'm happy I'm able to be a positive influence on the field of ABA. 'Cause I didn't realize how much negative opinions were on TikTok
Yeah.
about ABA and
Hmm.
stuff, and definitely,
Yeah,
and
there
a
is.
lot of that comes from that compliance training
Hmm.
BS that we are moving away. I apologize. We're moving away from, and now we're going towards child-led, assent-based therapy, and that's what's saving ABA, and that's what's
Yeah.
allowing ABA to keep on moving forward and expanding.
Right. Right.
Um,
Is there one last thing you want to say to parents out there, um, individuals with autism, your fellow BCBAs, RBTs, or just in general, like society? Like, what do you want to
yeah,
say?
that's a loaded question right there, man. Well, I'm gonna say for just everyone in the world, God's good all the time, and all the time God's good. And definitely with ABA, like definitely there's objective science in the field, but for the subjective parts of how we uphold ourselves, definitely try to uphold myself in a Christ-like way as best I can. To all my BCBAs and RBTs, and I'll definitely y'all mean the world to me, especially for my mentor. Because if anything, I guess it's a flex to say I've been working my same mentor in BCBA for all this time too. Other than like a 5 month hiatus, but I've been able to basically grow with my mentoring BCBA to now being alongside her and stuff like that, and now being able to also be in charge of a group of RBTs, and also I'm in charge of a student analyst too, teaching her the ropes of getting her indirect hours towards her BCBA credential. I'm very thankful to live the life I live. I say that
Nice.
that's probably my quote. That I say probably at least 5 times a week. That I'm very blessed to live the life I live, and
Mhm.
I wouldn't have it any other way. Um,
Nice. All
Nice.
right.
Thank
Well,
you
thank
so much
you so
again.
much. I wish
thank
we
y'all.
could keep talking,
Yeah, I
but
know you got
I have
class. I know I
class.
made you miss your whole class. I'm so
That's okay.
sorry.
That's
I know you're in
okay.
school. Is it a BCBA class?
Yeah.
ABA? Oh no.
Yeah. It's
Oh,
okay.
whatever.
It's okay. I'm gonna run. All
All
right.
right.
Well,
Thank
thank
you
you so
so
much. Yeah, we
much.
would love to have
This
you
was so
again.
much fun.
So
Thank you.
let's get
Thank you.
back together, see when we can
Absolutely.
try to meet
No,
again.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Next time y'all want me, I'll be more than welcome to.
Thank
Definitely.
you.
Absolutely, but y'all have a good
All
night.
right. Bye. You too.
See you.